Hawaiian people. Don't think about it, but boy, is that a well-defined nation. And essentially, that's what International Labor Defense is trying to do, is to build on those successes. Say that China, and I've had the honor of being invited in China for 17 years, and it's not a visit without my mentioning what African Americans face. But also that profound interest in ending the endless injustices suffered by oppressed nations within the United States, by labor. And so it's really wonderful to welcome all of you, to welcome the USM, and to have this event and here, and looking forward to more such events, and expanding these efforts to fight injustice, and again combining that necessary legal defense with these mass mobilizations. So thank you so much, and this is yours. And you're always welcome here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for coming. The email, said that the Uhuru Solidarity Movement has been defending the case of the Justice for the 3 Drowned Black Girls campaign, but really it's a campaign led by the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. I'm in the White Solidarity Organization, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and tonight I'm presenting with Dexter from the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Both are organizations working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, which Chairman Omali Yeshitela founded in 1972. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yes. As Casey said, my name is Dexter Winkle, and I'm a member of the PETA, under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party.
Right on. Yeah, I became the secretary of the campaign for justice for the 3 Drowned Black Girls through my involvement in the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. I discovered the movement by a member of the African People's Socialist Party who lived in Boston and then moved to St. Petersburg to organize full-time there. Now is in Huntsville, working on one of the party's economic institutions, Huntsville, Alabama. That's the home of Zenzele Consignment Store, which is one of the party's economic institutions. And what's so amazing about the Uhuru movement is how it's building these economic institutions to address the questions of how African people can feed, clothe, and house themselves as a free people. And in solidarity, we collect reparations from white society to be able to fund the movement and peacefully return what belongs to African people in the first place. So we're just going to start off. The program was edited slightly because of a horrific event that happened recently. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Department that was responsible for the murder of the 3 drowned black girls, Dominique Battle, Lanaya Miller, and Ashanti Butler, just this Monday morning, killed 3 more black children, 3 black teenage boys, Desiree Thomas, Jimmy Gashi, and Keontae Brown. They were all 15 and 16 years old. The girls were also, they were 14 and 16 years old, and the girls were 15 and 16 years old. And it was a very, very similar case where the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department violated their own no-chase policy and chased these teenagers in the early hours of the morning, causing them to crash. There were 6 black boys in the car. 3 of them died, and 3 of them were critically injured, and then were sent to jail having no idea what they were being charged for after just seeing their friends die in this murder. So the Uhuru movement, which is also leading these incredible campaigns in the city where this happened, put on a press conference the day after this happened. So we're just going to watch a statement from the chair of the Committee for the 3 Drowned Black Girls campaign, and also one of the candidates running for office. Her name is Erica Akile Canyon. So do we have the video ready to go?
Yep.
This is at the press conference they held the morning after. Very, very powerful, and I think that, she is who leads this campaign. That Uhuru Solidarity Movement, we are white people, but everything we do is under the leadership of the African working class. So this woman, whose leadership I've been working under for this campaign, and who is just leading this powerful movement that's inspiring people all over the world with her campaign for District 6 City Council.
I don't know why it's blue, but the sound is what's most important.
Okay,
So.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Radical solution. Reparations. Radical solution. Reparations. Uhuru. Uhuru. My name is Liu, and I'm the local president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, as well as a member of the campaign to elect Eritha Akile-Kenyon for District 6 City Council and Jesse Neville for mayor. We called this press conference today to express our outrage at the fact that yet another 3 black children were murdered by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department yesterday. The same ones who murdered 3 African girls last year, Dominique Battle, Ashanti Butler, and Lanaya Miller, with the complicity of the city of St. Petersburg and current mayor Rick Kreisman. We are deeply opposed to the murders of Desiree Thomas, 16 years old, Jimmy Goshley, 14 years old, and Keontae Brown, 16 years old, and we send out our deepest condolences to the families of those boys. NPDM is demanding black community control of the police, the indictment of Sheriff Bob Gaultieri and his gang of murderers, and reparations to the families of those children murdered. First, I would like to introduce Eritha Akile-Kenyon, who will be the next candidate, the next District 6 City Councilwoman. So everyone, please welcome Eritha Akile-Kenyon.
Uhuru, and good morning. I'd first like to start this off by appreciating those who are standing with us today in light of this tragedy and in support of those who have been murdered. My name is Eritha Akile-Kenyon, candidate for District 6 City Council. And yes, you heard me correctly. What happened to Desiree Thomas, Jimmy Goshley, and Keontae Brown on the early morning of August 6th in Palm Harbor was murder on behalf of the notorious killer Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And I don't need white corporate media such as Tampa Bay Times to validate that for me. I know it was murder. I knew it when I first heard the reports, before they had even released the boys' information, when the famous Gaultieri slander machine was already in motion. The Sheriff's Department, along with the vicious, slanderous, despicable, offensive, oppressive, violence-inciting white media, were releasing criminal records before we even had the names of the victims. Bob Gaultieri held a press conference criminalizing those children based on no evidence. They were most likely responsible for this thing, that thing, and the other, without an ounce of proof. Why would the Sheriff's Department and the media immediately begin to pump out this type of information that serves to dehumanize and devalue the lives of 3 teenage black boys? It's to cover up a crime committed on behalf of the Sheriff's Department. It's to garner support of a narrative that would serve to victimize criminals and criminalize the victims. The victims in the case being Desiree, Jimmy, and Keontae. The victims being the other 3 boys that were also attacked on the morning of August 6th. I know it was murder because just last year, March 31st, 2016, Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies murdered by drowning 3 teenage black girls, Dominique Battle, Lanaya Miller, and Ashanti Butler. I am the international chair of the Justice for the 3 Drowned Black Girls campaign, and this has been my work since before entering this election. And it was while chairing this campaign that I saw the exact same response from the Sheriff's Department and the media. I saw the slander of these girls, their parents, and the black community at large. I saw the same stolen car line to justify the deaths of 3 black teenagers. There were lies upon lies, spewed from killer Bob Gaultieri, even then saying his deputies hadn't chased the girls, despite a cruiser being recorded at 93 miles per hour, and that his deputies did everything they could to save the girls, except leaked footage revealing no urgency and no rescuing on behalf of the 17 trained first responding deputies on the scene, just cynical conversation as the girls could be heard screaming for their lives. I say it's murder because of the social system, a country with a state apparatus built on the enslavement of African people and the genocide of indigenous people. The state in the form of the police, formed to maintain the system, the status quo of the oppression and the murders of the black community, formed to protect the white community from the poor and colonized black community. It's a system that myself for District 6 and Jesse Neville for mayor are going up against, along with the tired people of this city, because until a revolution happens, there will continue to be countless murders of black children at the hands of the police. Without reparations, the black community, my community will continue to suffer the worst forms of oppression, from police murder, to gentrification, to poverty, to homelessness. People keep asking in St. Petersburg, a majority white city, are we really ready for reparations to the black community? Is this city really ready for a revolution? Not only are we ready, but we have no choice but to be. Should we be forced to be ready, Rick Box Cutter Baker, or Rick Sewage Dumper Kreisman? Should we be forced to prepare ourselves for more of the pessimistic policies of police containment of the black community, which leads to the murders of 14 and 16-year-old black children? Hell no. We the people have to support reparations to the black community. We have to support black community control of the police, which includes the expulsion of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department out of St. Petersburg, because this is their legacy. We have to support the indictment of Sheriff Bob Gaultieri, a much-hated supervisor of serial killers, and those deputies involved in the murder of these 3 black boys, as well as those who drowned Dominique, Lanaya, and Ashanti. And we have to totally be against a black mother having to bury her child, as something my fierce comrade and mother of Dominique Battle, Kunde Mambita, had to do just last year. I am outraged at this murder, at the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, at the media, at this system. I am completely at my limit of the slander against my community, against my people who have had to bear the brunt of these murderous policies of the city government to ensure prosperous lives for the white community. I am sickened that 1 year later, Bob Gaultieri can murder 3 more black teenagers and then paint the picture for the world to see them as less than human and deserving death because of an alleged stolen car. That even if it had been stolen, does not justify murder, does not justify illegally chasing them and leading them to their deaths. There's no car more valuable than someone's life. Yet there is this notion that property is supposed to be more valuable than a black child. To assist in permeating that ideology is the Tampa Bay Times, it's Bay News 9, and other white media. This type of murder, this type of slander would not be possible if these children had been white. And it's never stolen if white people are the ones stealing. White people, you are on stolen land, living on stolen resources, based on stolen labor and stolen lives. And if you're a white teen stealing a car, then you're joyriding. Where's the Tampa Bay Times to indict the white community and to indict itself in the full participation of the oppression of the black community? What happened in Palm Harbor happens in St. Petersburg. It happens in St. Louis. It happens in New York City, Baltimore, Cleveland, Detroit. It happens all across this country and across the globe, and the ruling class state always paints itself as the victim. It always justifies itself and goes along killing black people with impunity. This is why what we do in the city of St. Petersburg is so important. People are watching this city because these campaigns are providing hope to those who have to see this sort of violence imposed upon their community every day by this system. We, the campaigns to elect myself for District 6 City Council and Jesse Neville for Mayor of St. Petersburg, as well as the people of this movement, completely denounce the murders of Desiree Thomas, Jimmy Gochi, and Keontae Brown by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, and are calling on all those who don't allow the system and its media to speak for you, who stand in solidarity with reparations and against police containment, to vote on August 29th for a future for black children, the black community, and the people of this city. We have to be outraged by this. We have to be completely intolerant of this. We have to demand reparations, black community control of the police, and not one more black life stolen by the state in the form of the police and the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
You
Yes,
wanna
it
put
was.
the lights here? Thank you.
It was under this incredible woman's leadership that the Campaign for Justice for the Three Drowned Black Girls was able to host a tour of Kunde Mwambita, who she mentioned is the mother of Dominique Battle, one of the girls drowned. And she came to Boston, and she also went to Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Clearwater, Florida, and relived this story. But because she has devoted herself to be on the front lines to end the system that killed her children. So now we can talk a little bit about more about the case of the three drowned black girls, and Dexter is going to present on that. Also, I printed these.
Oh yeah, the first page, it got cut off, but you read the pencil part and then the second page. I had to. I don't know why it didn't work.
So in the early hours of the morning on March 31st, 2016, a sheriff's deputy began a pursuit of a car in St. Petersburg containing 3 teenage African girls, Lanaya Miller, Ashanti Butler, who were both 15, and Dominique Battle, who was 16 years old. The Sheriff's Department reports show that a deputy pursued the car at speeds up to 95 miles per hour. And that violates the Sheriff's Department's own policy against high-speed chases. Even though Sheriff Bob Gualtieri denied this, their own police reports show this. Cops lie, and they don't care, because they have the power of the state protecting them. But we can see the truth based on the sheriff's own records. The Sheriff's Department then, after this chase had been going on for a few minutes, called on their phone, told that particular sheriff's deputy to stop and abandon the chase. The deputy stopped, but he called in Howard Skaggs, who was the head of the DUI undercover unit called the Wolf Pack, that pursues mostly motorists, mostly African motorists, in an undercover unmarked car that has no flashing blue lights on. Which you do not have the responsibility to stop for a car that is pursuing you that has not any identification of a police car on it. In fact, that could be very dangerous. So these terrified teenage girls were being pursued by Howard Skaggs, and basically he pursued them off the highway and corralled them onto an unlit road through a cemetery late at night in northern St. Petersburg. Howard Skaggs reports that he knew that at the end of the road was a pond, and because it was unlit, the girls would not see it. He said something like they would crash into a tree, a gravestone, or they would go into that pond. So as he's following them, chasing them down this winding road, and the girls are terrified, he's calling backup. So by the time they get to the pond, there are 12 police cars coming up to the pond, and a police helicopter above the pond. Now, in those 12 cars, there are about 17 deputies total. Deputies are trained as first responders. The back seats of their car come out to be used as flotation devices. And there's no way they don't have one of those little handlers that knock the window out of a car in case of emergency. Gualtieri said the car was something like 20 to 30 yards into the pond, but the police report says it was 15 feet into the pond. Gualtieri saluted his deputies for attempting to go into the water. Now, when they released their own footage, it showed that they did not, in fact, go to the water. They did not try to go into the water. What it shows is that the girl's car floated for 6 minutes, and the deputies did absolutely nothing. The footage shows they were standing around, and now one of them said, they were standing around, and one of them said, "Oh, I thought I heard screaming." And the other guy says, "They're done, dude. They're effing done." This is intent to kill. If they had been white, they'd be alive today. So Gualtieri lied and said his cops went into the water, but they did nothing. They stood by and watched them drown. Howard Skaggs, who was first on the scene with everyone behind him, once did go into the water back in 2002 when he was chasing an 18-year-old African youth, Laboriel Fenton, for no reason whatsoever. The kid was scared and jumped into the pond because Skaggs had unleashed a police dog on him. Skaggs went into the water that night to save the dog, and he took out the back seats and used them as flotation devices to rescue the dog and then murder Laboriel Fenton. It was ruled as justifiable homicide. They reported that the teenager was last seen doing the backstroke. This was December, when his body was pulled out of the water and an entire quadrant of his brain had collapsed from below to his head because he had been hit so hard. And they ruled it as homicide, but justifiable homicide because nobody was there to fight for the boy or felt him. So Deputy Howard Skaggs has the blood of 4 teenagers on his hands.
Who was driving? One of the girls?
Sorry? One of the girls was driving. Yeah.
The
One of the
little
three.
girl, 14, 15-year-old,
Yes.
was driving.
One of them were, yes.
Well, one of them was 16.
Okay.
15 to 16. After he murdered the girls, Gualtieri had a press conference in which he slandered the girls and said they were in a stolen car. First, how could he make charges against someone who can't defend himself? Second, we know that the owner of the car they were in was a married man twice their age. He says in the police report that he stopped at Walmart to buy a television, but the surveillance footage shows that he was buying liquor. This has never been investigated by the Sheriff's Department. It has just been the slander of the 3 African girls and of the entire African community. And if they were white, again, this would not have happened. This is what they do to African people. This is colonialism. This is not an isolated case.
Yep.
This is the reality of African people everywhere as a result of this parasitic social system. Sorry?
Day in and day out.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so what we're doing with this campaign, as well as a campaign to elect the Justice for 3 Drowned Black Girls Chair, Aretha Aquila Canyon, we all just for the District 6 City Council, is to make sure that a mother will never have to bury her child ever again. This cannot be the reality anymore. The police cannot function in the black community as a military occupying force. Impedum, which is the working class black-led mass organization under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, is fighting for black community control of the police. That puts the police that function in the community under the leadership of the black community, who will have the power to hire, to fire, to train, and discipline the police as actual public servants of the community. They need to live in that community. They need to have a stake in that community. They need to actually protect and serve the community, because that's not the relationship that we see today. And we want to completely deconstruct that relationship. Now, Impedum created the Committee for Justice for the 3 Drowned Black Girls, not just to fight for justice in St. Pete, but for everybody to join in on an international level. And this campaign has received international attention. Comrades from Stockholm, Sweden to London, England have talked about this campaign. What we demand is that Sheriff Bob Gualtieri has got to go. Has got to go. And we need to see criminal charges brought against the deputies. Somebody's got to go to jail for the murder of these girls. Criminal charges against Howard Skaggs and all the deputies involved in the murder. Those girls' hands had to be pried apart because they were holding on to each other's hands so tight. Reparations are owed to Kunde, the mother of Dominique Battle. Reparations are owed to all families of Africans who are victims of police murder. Now, what's significant about this campaign is Kunde Mwavita, whose name means Mother Warrior. Whose name means Mother Warrior. She is now a leader on the front lines of the African liberation movement. Not just to fight for her daughter, Dominique Battle, but to fight for all African people. And she makes that very, very clear. You see, she's willing to struggle with more than just the disgusting Canella sheriffs, but the whole system that's a real threat to our existence as African people, our independence, and our lives. And that's extremely important to this campaign. When we see African children being killed, we know that it's going to continue until we're free.
Thank you. We heard a lot about Kunde tonight, so now we're going to watch 2 videos. The first is of the last letter that Kunde's daughter ever wrote to her. And the second is a speech that Kunde gave at a convention in Florida last year.
On March 31st, 2016.
Do you want to hit the lights, please? Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that's blue, but
It's okay.
So, oh wait, let me start.
My daughter, Dominique Better, and two of her friends. Was shot by Pinellas County Sheriff's officers. A few months before this, my daughter had wrote me several letters, and we was always communicate to each other by writing letters to each other when she felt like she was too embarrassed or too shy to tell me word to word. So I'm going to read one of the letters that she wrote to me. One of the last letters I would ever receive from her. I entitled it Mom. Mom, I just wanted to tell you that I'm ready to get on track. You never gave up on me, even when I gave up on myself. But it's time for a change. Enough is enough. I want to get help because I know I'm not going to be able to stay on track by myself. But I don't have a problem with doing what I'm supposed to do. I just get influenced easily. It don't have anything to do with how you raised me. I'm just growing up, trying to see where I fit in. You really are a good mom, hardworking. I want to train you for the world. You spoiled me and made me into the princess I am today, and I thank you for that, Queen. You don't need to feel depressed. Sometimes a storm is going to come, and God put his hardest brothers on his strongest soldiers. I love you, Mom. I never knew that I would never be able to write to her again, talk to her, or even see her smile. So these letters that she have written to me, I hold dearly. Some of them are trying to tear because I read so much. I just want to say thank y'all for taking the time out to listen to my story.
It's
I'll watch one more video, and it's of a speech that Kunde gave at the Uhuru Solidarity Movement convention in April of this year. We raised $15,000 in reparations from white people to the economic programs of the party. because, you know, when we join the Who Solidarity movement, it means that we take ourselves out of the center and get under the leadership of the African working class and do what the U.S. government will never do, which is pay reparations. And Kunde, you know, just was a really important part of the convention.
Sorry.
So, yeah, you can go ahead and play it.
This was in April of this year. Hold on, I can't see it.
Ahuru, I want to start off by saying thank you to everyone for not only allowing me to share my story of my 3 girls that were murdered because of the color of their skins. They want to claim that they chased them, and then they want to recant it. Oh no, we didn't chase them. They want to say we're in a stolen car, but where's the proof? The car was even reported stolen. But my fight here, and my fight since the day that they took those girls live on March the 31st, 2016, is not only with the Sheriff's Department, and with not only with the Pinellas County Police Department, but it's with the state. Because they work for the state. And they will continue to try to break us and to bring us down. But we not only demand justice, we demand freedom for Africans at home and abroad. Y'all want to say that Africans have rights, but we don't. But after my fight, we will have the right to govern our own lives. We here will have the right to feed, clothe, and house ourselves. We will have the right to black community control of the police and the school systems. I'm going to continue to fight to overturn the state. Because they're the ones that don't have any rights. Not to my life, not to any African life. If you look at an African that was so in slavery, you can see the welts from when their skin was beaten and bludgeoned. You look at the men and women in the prison system, it's the same. We're still being beaten. But I'm here to stop it. I'm no longer saying, let my people go. I'm demanding, I'm fighting, and I'm going to get my people free. Don't feel pity for me that I don't need. I need you to join a movement. Join a movement that is willing to fight for everybody's rights, for the indigenous people, for the African people, for the oppressed people of this world. They want to say that America is the home of the free and the brave. No. Africa is the home of the free and the brave. One of the richest countries in the world. But you see how they live? It's horrible. But I will not stop fighting until Africa is back to the way it used to be. When we used to live off of the land, when we used to plant our own food. And that's what this health market that's going to take place here in May 6th is going to be about. It's going to be a start, a means to be able to feed ourselves, to be able to depend on each and every African to come together and unite and take back our shit. Enough is enough. Bob Illicherry and the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. You have not broken me, and you can keep your hush money. Because nobody's going to tell me that I can't speak about these girls and about other Africans that y'all are murdering. Nobody's going to tell me that I can't mourn when I want to mourn. Nobody's going to tell me that I can't say their names. Because Bob Gilliam, I'm going to say your name until I take your ass down. And for House guys, and those 17 police officers, and that wannabe helicopter that was up there, I'm coming for that ass. Because what you did in the dark has come to the light. And I'm going to fight, fight, fight. Uhuru.
Uhuru Kunde.
So, thanks so much. I really want to just salute everybody for coming out to hear this really important campaign with really revolutionary demands. And like Dexter said, I mean, it is Kunde who makes this campaign so significant, because so often mothers and fathers and brothers are just put in this horrible situation where they can't see their loved one anymore because they were stolen, and then they get coerced by the state to stay silent and to take hush money, and just the pain of having someone that you love, that you raised, just stolen, that you don't get to see them ever again or hug them ever again. I just don't understand how you could even get out of bed ever again. But Kunde inspires me every single day to get up and fight and to go and in Uhuru solidarity to go into the white community and organize other white people like myself to stand in solidarity with the struggle of African people worldwide to be free and to be liberated from this terror and have all their resources back to be able to build their nation that was attacked by Europe and forcing them to disperse. And that was the origin of capitalism, was Europe's assault on Africa to build this horrible, nasty system. So before I get into the statement that I wrote, really connecting the Three Drowned Black Girls campaign to the campaigns that we watched in the first video, Eartha Akile Cannon for District 6 City Council and Jesse Neville for Mayor, I just wanted to do a short appeal for funds for the legal fees. That tonight we have a goal of just raising $200. We have about 6,000 more to go for Kunde's lawyer, Aaron O'Neill. And so tonight I wanted to see, I know that we have a small room of people, but to just try and, raise $200 because this, once we sue them, we have the whole world. We have Boston. We have all the people that Kunde spoke to in Philly. We have the comrades in Sweden and London, looking at the court, looking at Bob Gaultier. Mm-hmm. So I have these, I have these, not that many, but some envelopes for anyone that wants to give tonight. I can just, if you want to take one and pass it that way. And I want to myself contribute $20, so if 10 more people do that, we can make it.
Is there a way of contributing online?
Yes.
Yes.
It's justice4DominiqueBattle.com, and if you fill out this form and turn it in, so that way we can just follow up with you.
Any amount is helpful, even $2. Help get all these cops put on trial and in jail where they belong.
Does anyone perhaps have an extra pen?
Yes, I provide pens.
Thank you. Oh, I got it. I'm all set. Thank you.
Anyone need one else?
Amanda does. Amanda's our treasurer. Someone just asked for change.
If anyone needs a pen,
Let me say, dig deep. Normally we always pass a hat to pay rent because our rent is quadrupled.
mm-hmm.
for those of you who know that, there's not going to be anything passed today for rent, so please dig deep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the Committee for International Labor Defense for coming out to see Kunde when she spoke in Boston. Sandy and I'm sorry,
Wadir.
Okay, I didn't know how to pronounce it. And for just donating the space tonight, that's just really incredible. I can tell that you really were moved by the speeches by Kunde and also by Kalambayi, who is the president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, who stood by Kunde's side, this whole tour that she went on, reliving this pain, and who, is also now on the front lines for organizing Impedum to address the recent murders that we've seen by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And, so again, I just really want to raise up Kunde. For what Dexter said, she's now on the front lines, understanding that that Kunde and that Impedum and that the Uhuru movement and the Campaign for Justice for the 3 John Black Girls and USM know that this is going to keep happening, that they're going to keep killing little black children and black adults. And it's the 3-year anniversary of the murder of Mike Brown today.
Uhuru Mike Brown.
That they're going to keep doing this until there's revolution. And so when we're talking about reparations owed to African people, we are talking about this whole system built on their backs. And that reparations means that the whole system has to go. And so in Uhuru Solidarity Movement, reparations is like a weapon to reach revolution. It is denying money from the capitalist system and returning it to Black Star Industries, which is the programs of the African People's Socialist Party based on the Garvey movement in the 1920s. Marcus Garvey, who led the Universal Negro Improvement Association. So I also want to speak about how this campaign has done so much work to change the narrative around the case for the 3 John Black Girls, and it's going to work just as hard to do it for the 3 Black boys. And as Akile said, that the media put out these children's criminal records and their mugshots before we even learned their names. And Bob, Akile asked me, as she's my leadership, she asked me to look up Bob Goldper's press conference, and I couldn't even watch the whole thing because he just kept calling them prolific offenders that he just killed like 6 hours ago. And there was an article written in the Tampa Bay Times called Hot Wheels, in which Gualtieri and Skaggs say that the biggest threat to public safety in St. Petersburg is black children stealing cars and joyriding. That there's this car theft epidemic. When there is no car theft epidemic, there's an epidemic of the police murdering black people. And, so they don't get to just put this out without the Uhuru movement and African working class revolutionaries combating it and summing it up for people. And this is why, we saw the press conference with Akile and Kunde's speech. They have the Uhuru House that they have in Oakland and St. Petersburg, and now they're building in St. Louis, where Mike Brown was murdered, and it's now going to be the international headquarters of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And this is where reparations goes from Uhuru Solidarity Movement, is to build these spaces so that they can have their own press conference. Because, it's just that the resources are all hoarded by these corporations like Tampa Bay Times, which was actually founded by members of a lynch mob. Tampa Bay Times is slandering these children, also put out a lie. One of their first pieces ever published was falsely accusing an African man of, I think, stealing something, and it was all a lie. And it led to a lynch mob that attacked him and hung him. And after that happened, I'm so sorry that his name is escaping me, but
John Evans?
John Evans.
Yeah.
John Evans. The Tampa Bay Times lied about a crime that he committed, basically inciting a lynch mob against him, where they hung him, and a white woman drove in her car and pulled out a shotgun and shot his lifeless body. So this is what white women owe reparations for too.
Do you know what year this was?
1912.
Yeah.
It was like 100 years ago. Like early 1910s and 20s.
St. Petersburg.
Got it.
In St. Petersburg, Florida. Yep.
And this is why we have this is why the Burning Spear newspaper is so important. It's media.
Yes.
It's the voice of the African People's Socialist Party.
Do a
The
shout out.
voice of the International Working Class Revolution.
Everyone, please get one.
African Working Class Revolution. We have new ones tonight for $1, and we also have old ones that we give out for free. And this was probably the only paper that reported accurately on these cases. And also, they have a radio station, Black Power 96.3 FM, that also puts out the truth. And, since the murder of the girls, the Uhuru movement's been on the ground hosting demonstration after demonstration, distributing over 10,000 flyers in the communities, in the white community, in the African community, and throughout the month of July 2016, and just having to say that these girls were murdered and change the narrative because of what Gualtieri had put in place. And the Uhuru movement was the first to put out pictures of these girls and of these boys that were mugshots. And then Koundé last year in October went on tour to speak about this case. It was part of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement's Days in Solidarity with the African People campaign that were actually mandated by the African People's Socialist Party to host every October. They are amazing events, and this year we're having one in October that I hope you all come to. It'll be October 17th at the First Baptist Church in Jamaica Plain, and we're bringing Chairman Omali Yeshitela, which is huge, and we're also bringing Penny Hess, who's the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee for over 40 years, which is a revolutionary organization of white people working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party to build unwavering white solidarity with African liberation. And we're also bringing Jesse Neville and Eartha Kile Canyon. Eartha Kile Canyon was the first person that you spoke, so she's coming to Boston.
It's gonna be amazing.
You gotta
Have to
for
come.
that October 17th. If you sign up for our contact list, we'll make sure that you get that information. And yes, I just wanted to say also that the police want to talk about stolen cars, but the reality is that Koundé supported 5 children by working at a fast food restaurant. She had no car. She took the bus to work every day.
3 buses.
61% of African children under 6 in St. Pete live in deep poverty, and 41% of African teenagers live in poverty compared to 15% of white teenagers. The majority of African people in St. Pete don't even have cars. They ride bicycles, and then they're stopped and harassed by the police for riding bicycles while black. And these are the conditions. The Chairman Omali Yeshitela said that the slander is about the criminalization of imposed poverty. That a study said it would take African people 228 years to amass the wealth, to have the same amount of wealth that the average white family has today. Not even like rich white people to live in mansions, which, by the way, Bob Gualtieri lives in a mansion. But 228 years. The African community doesn't have time for that. They are being gentrified out of existence. They are, 50% of people in prison are black. They go to jail for things that white people don't even get arrested for. And this is genocide. There must be reparations now. So I also want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who deepened the understanding of the opportunism of white people and the material basis of that, which is that we are a colonizer nation, all of us, whether we are rich or poor, whether we are the Rockefellers or we're struggling to get a job at Walmart. We are still white people that sit on the pedestal of oppression of African people and oppressed people of the world. And every dream and aspiration and every way that we see ourselves, even the oppression that we face, all the way that we see that is based on this reality. And so it's easy to say the words that this country and our whole existence as white people is built on slavery and genocide and at the expense of African people, but to really investigate what that means for what it is that we've carried out and what is our tradition as white people, and is still there as our tradition and carried out with our consent and complicity through the state power of the police, the army, and other methods and institutions of the U.S. government. And initially, the police and the army, these instruments, were not needed to be separate from us as the white population, that we carried out that violence. We lynched, we tortured, we murdered, we waterboarded African people. We created and inflicted hideous terror against the indigenous people. and the people on the planet Earth without thinking much of it, and that's part of our history and part of who we are. And truly the only answer is to be in solidarity with the right of African and indigenous and Arab people to their own land and their own resources and their own culture. And that we have to return the resources that we stole. As President Colombai said, that's the only way a thief could ever make it right with you, is to give back what they stole. And so the campaigns in Florida to elect Jesse Neville, who's the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, running in solidarity with Eartha Kiele Canyon for District 6 City Council, his campaign is called Unity Through Reparations. And that's what the campaigns are fighting for. And you know, these campaigns are totally connected and inseparable from the campaign for justice for the 3 drowned black girls, and now for these 3 murdered black boys and the 3 survivors who had to see their friends die and then be in jail. Jesse and Akile in St. Petersburg right now with these elections are the only candidates that support every demand of the Justice for the 3 Drowned Black Girls campaign. And they're the only candidates that have put forward Kunde and the poor working class African community of St. Pete. And this campaign has to win because the police in the city will keep doing this to black children, as they have shown with this recent murder. And a concrete goal of their campaign is to get the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department out of St. Pete, and that whole department that has a terrifying history of harassing and murdering African people. Just a month after the 3 black girls were murdered, they murdered Alton Witchard and shot him in the back and lied about it. And you know, there was an 8-year period where the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department weren't allowed in St. Pete. It was under Police Chief Goliath Davis's jurisdiction, who was actually even though he was police chief, he was a big supporter of the Uhuru movement. He was an African man, and he made the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department leave St. Pete, and there was no murder of a black person in St. Pete by police.
Wow. For 8 years.
For 8 years.
For 8 years.
Until Rick Baker became mayor. And he's running again for mayor now.
So they have to win, and I just want to share the statement from Eartha Kiele Canyon, who said, "We have to win this election. Me and Jesse have to win because the other candidates have made it clear that they will continue the police occupation of the black community. This has been exposed by the other candidates' stance on the murder of the 3 drowned black girls. They've attacked the girls, attacked Kunde, and attacked the entire black community. The people need to see these enemies who are willing to attack the 3 girls and Kunde and this campaign. And this case draws the line. You have 2 candidates, Jesse and Akile, who are opposed to police occupation and are putting forth black community control of the police as a solution. The other city officials have only ever put forth more police as the solution to the city's problems at the expense of the black community. All these other candidates have to stay on the line if they will continue the military occupation of that community. But my platform, it's Aquile's, has been clear from the beginning that going against gentrification is going against police containment. Because gentrification is not just being priced out of your home, it's being shot and left on the pavement for 4 hours. It looks like being brutally drowned. It looks like the police firing rounds into the roof of your car. This is not a joke. This is not a game. This is the black community's life on the line. When I win District 6 City Council, the Committee for Justice for the 3 Drowned Black Girls wins. So these campaigns have to work hand in hand. We have to win the demands of the 3 Drowned Black Girls campaign. We have to win these elections. So that's from Akile. And I also wanted to give a quote from Penny Hess, who is the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, who said, is talking about these campaigns that are taking place. And she said it's built a really powerful movement. And I actually went to St. Pete to take part in these campaigns for a little bit, and I saw that, I mean, Jesse and Akile are just like the candidates, but they are community organizers, and the campaigns are really run by black working class high school students.
Yeah.
You know, I helped them go out door to door, and it was just incredible. Some 15 years old, they're just brilliant, genius in strategy of how to go forward and how to defeat the ruling class. It's a movement that makes reparations and the demand for reparations that the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the African People's Solidarity Committee has been out there calling for 40 years under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. This campaign makes it really real for people, and the campaign for Unity Through Reparations opens up the entire city so that we're knocking on doors of white people all over the city and talking about unity through reparations. This campaign's lit a fire under the city. People want real change. People want real unity and are rising up. And the interesting thing is, the white people who are joining are expressing how happy they are, because there is an honest place for us white people, and it's under the leadership of the African working class. And it does make us happy, and it lets us be free. It lets us join and have a principled relationship of reparations to the African community. It lets us have a principled way of relating to African people, not based on a self-centered anti-racist model, but based on real class and national suicide. So I just really want to salute the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and salute Comrade Jesse Neville, who's the chair of the Solidarity Movement, and who's incredible and just, you know, running for mayor under the leadership of the party, just an absolute model of a principled stand of white people. And of course, I want to close by saluting Eartha Keeley Canyon, who is just this brilliant, courageous young woman, only 20 years old. And under her leadership, we've raised 12,000 of the 18,000 needed, or possibly more. We'll count it up.
Do you want us?
Can
So
you-
we raised.
counting it up, or
We counted it. We raised $210 tonight. So
Yes!
thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. So we have 5,800 to go. And so, you know, if you want to get involved in this campaign, we do have, through the 3 Drowned Black Girls campaign, we do weekly call-ins. You can also host more fundraisers like this and tell people that didn't hear about it what happened, you know, show videos. And
What I'd like to do is that people could give me what you've said tonight, and I'll make sure that it goes on both the CILD webpage, and
Uhuru, thanks
also
for
we
coming.
can send something out to everyone who couldn't be here tonight. So we
Yeah.
sent it to our mailing list.
yeah, I just realized I'm a little bit over time. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to just say that those call-in campaigns are every Wednesday. So today was the 15th week. And I mean, at this point, I think they know my number, so I'm just going to try to start calling from another phone. But like, so we call, we demand, you know, that Sheriff Bob Beaupierre has got to go. We call the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And today, actually for the first time ever, they hung up on me before I even finished my first sentence. Because I was like, I know that you murdered those 3 black boys too, just this Monday. And they just did, you know, they just immediately hung up. So we want them to, you know, they asked me one time when I called, like, you know, what do you expect from this? And it's like, we don't expect anything from you. We just want to know that this community is not going to stop fighting and we're going to win. And, you know, that this is a way to build up to the lawsuit and just to make them feel it, that they can't do this without a response from the community. Or without a response from white people either. They can't do this in my name anymore.
Yeah.
So, yes. Also, there's literature in the back. The Burning Spear newspaper, the new one for $1, old ones for free. And also, do we have a pamphlet for the 3 Drowned Black Girls?
Yeah, we
They're
have
$3, and they tell also
have
the whole story.
one
Really
left of
beautiful pictures.
this and a couple free ones in black and white.
Oh, okay, awesome. And there's just, you know, for the white folks in here, there's other literature about, you know, reparations and why it should be a mass issue that all white people are getting behind.
I mean, thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
Peggy. And Dexter.
you talked about what happened in St. Pete, but you know, whether it's Jacksonville, Florida, or you go to any city here, this is happening day in and day out, and they want. I mean, there's a lot of money being made in the prison industry, and that's got to stop. I'm an old person. I remember Burning Spear from, you know.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
the early 70s, because we were doing a lot of prisoner defense work with me and myself. And
Yeah,
very
please,
good
please
people.
buy a spear. And again, thank you, Dexter, and the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement,
Yep.
and Hallie for live streaming this event on the
Yes.
Justice for the 3 Drowned Black Girls page, and again
Yeah.
to the Center for Marxist Education and the Committee for International Labor Defense.
Uhuru.
All of you for coming out.
Uhuru.
Just to emphasize.